You are listening to the Digital Parent Podcast with your host, Ced Lewis.
Hey parents, welcome to another episode of the Digital Parent Podcast. On this episode, we want to talk about teenagers and Uber. And this is going to be a quick episode. We're going to get right into it. So I get like a lot of questions from parents, especially recently. They'll say, is Uber safe for my teenager? And the answer is no. Uber is not safe. And there's a reason for that. Some of you guys may remember last year, there was this Uber teen program where Uber had set up their site where you could get cars for your teens if they had extracurricular activities or you need to get them from point A to point B. But what they found out was that they didn't really have a way to safeguard that, and there was a huge liability for the company. So what they did was they did away with the program. So if you go to the Uber Teen website, Uber specifically states that until they can guarantee safety, they will fall back on their regular policies that they cannot pick up any minors, anyone that's 18 or below, because of safety risks. So that's the company telling you themselves that it's unsafe for you to put your child in their vehicle. And there's a reason for that. One is Uber doesn't have like the best background screening process. Of course, most drivers have to go through some type of background screen. But with most background screens, usually through a sheriff department, something of that nature. It only goes back 7 years, 10 years. It's not one of those background screens that you would give if you work for the federal government or state governments, where it goes back to the age of 18 or the age of consent, where you really can dig deep into somebody's history. And a lot of times it doesn't even do any type of child protective services screening as well. So if somebody has a history of child abuse, child neglect, that won't come up on the standard background screen that's being done by companies like Uber, companies by Lyft. It's just very generic, simple background with limited terms. So the driver who may be driving your child around may have a serious issue. And Uber knows that, so that's why they kind of prohibit young minors from riding in their cars. And if you look through the media, there's been a couple incidents recently that kind of proves this. There's one incident last week where Uber driver allowed two drunk teens to get in his car. He allowed them to surf on the top of the car. One of them fell, got fatally injured. So, that's been all over the media. A while back, you had another Uber driver that picked up a 15-year-old girl, locked the doors on her when they let her leave, started kissing her in the mouth. He's up on charges now. And there's really been a lot of incidents of Uber with adults in regards to rape, sexual harassment that's been all over the place. So Uber has some problems even with adults. So definitely when it comes to youth, we really have to be careful and really not put our kids at risk. So when it comes to Uber and a teenager, no. And some of you guys may say, well, you know what? I feel more comfortable with my son riding Uber than my daughter. That should be a no as well. Gender should not play into the equation, because even if it's a male, they're still at risk of harassment. They're still at risk of harm. It's a no across the board when it comes to Uber. And truth be told, as a parent, I know sometimes we're busy, our schedule gets in the way, but sometimes when we pick up our kids from these activities they're involved in, it's some of the best bonding time you can have with your child. Because usually when your kid gets back into the house, they got homework, they got dinner, they got social media before bedtime. They're in their own world, you're in your own world. That bonding time that you have in the car when you talk to your loved one, the young person, is good quality time that you don't want to miss out on. We know you have to work, we know you have to pay the bills, but sometimes some things are a little bit more important. So my advice would be to find that time that you can spend with your loved one in those cars, which is you and them, so you can talk about the things that happen in school. We know these kids go through bullying, they go through all sorts of other different issues at their age. That's your quality time to spend with your child in the car, not with some Uber driver that may have some type of dirty background check or maybe a sexual predator. So those are my thoughts. Till the next time, guys.